mission to fix every Call of Duty. For each game, I'm gonna go over one thing to delete from each COD to make it a better game. On top of this, I asked you guys what you thought, and we'll be picking one community comment for each game as well. Time to make a perfect Call of Duty. Let's dive in. Well, we of course are going to start this bad boy off in Call of Duty 4, and for me, let's start with my opinion. I am actually going to go with getting rid of frag ×3. I know a lot of you guys probably remember this. This thing was the most overpowered thing of all time. Like, you would hop into a game, you'd hop into spawn, you just toss nades right over the top, and if you died, they would just replenish again. So especially, I really think of like shipment, when you would play shipment, there was so much grenade spam happening because of the frag ×3, and then actually the community pick for this one created even more. It just, I feel like this game could have been almost perfect if they would have gotten rid of this, because honestly everything else was pretty good. I mean, yeah, M16 was a little overpowered, but at the same time you could definitely use all the other guns if you wanted to, and they were iconic guns. So let's now go over to the community opinion, and this is by my boy Stallion here on Twitter, and he says, Marty Dom, you know, this game just had an issue with grenades, I guess. Marty Dom, as if you didn't know, you would die and drop a grenade. So you would actually sometimes get multiple kills from literally dying. So you would almost gain, you would just, I don't know, you would gain momentum dying sometimes. And when I said going back to shipment, frag ×3, you toss 3 grenades, you get a bunch of kills, and then you run out into the middle there and you die, and then you drop a grenade. You have 4 grenades. 4. Some people, you could get like 5-6 kills just with grenades. So COD 4 had a little bit of a grenade problem, and I think if you would, I agree with the community here. If you get rid of these, I think COD 4 literally might be perfect. I'm not even kidding with you. Well, next up is World at War, which many of you know now is one of my favorite Call of Duties of all time. And I gotta say something, which I was really thinking about this on my list here, and I'm like, what could have made World at War even better? And I have to do this to us, guys. I have to say it. I think if they would have nerfed the MP40, this could have been another game that was almost perfect. Obviously, if you played this game in its prime, everybody and their grandma was using the MP40. And really, SMG wise, you maybe would use the Thompson occasionally, maybe the Type 100. But honestly, it was very, very rare. If you didn't use the MP40, you were at a massive disadvantage. And even the thing was pretty good from far away. If you kind of like took your time and like tap, 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 you could almost outgun like the STG. So the MP40 for me, if it was nerfed to make it more equal with the other SMGs, again, I think you got a pretty much perfect game. I loved World at War. And for the community pick, my boy Zachary K, listen, this is what you attached with the MP40. It was the Juggernaut perk. Now, this perk was in Call of Duty 4, but I think, like we said, I think the frag ×3 was a little bit more overpowered and annoying. In World at War, they got rid of the frag ×3, but they kept Juggernaut. And, well, you would just run around with MP40 and Juggernaut and pretty much dominate the lobbies if you had thumbs. It took very little skill. You could 2-shot somebody on top of take a bunch of bullets. I ain't gonna lie, the combo was kind of dirty. Now, I kind of did enjoy it. I am that guy who used it, but I think to make this game pretty much perfect, you get rid of the MP40 overpoweredness and the Juggernaut completely. Again, could be a perfect Call of Duty in my opinion. All right, so this is Modern Warfare 2, guys, and honestly, I feel like there's a bunch of stuff that you could do with this game. I know what the community picks, so I'm gonna go with mine first, and I am gonna go with the Commando Pro perk, aka the Panic Lunge Knife, the length of the map. This perk, Commando by itself was not, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad, but then Commando Pro made you like a super soldier, and I think this was the perk where you couldn't have any fall damage too once you got pro. So you could just knife these crazy, there's clips everywhere on the internet of people knifing from like 15 feet away and like glitching upstairs and taking people out. We all know MW2 was not a perfect Call of Duty. It had a lot wrong with it. And this was probably the most annoying thing to me, especially when you're on your streaks and you get knifed like that when you know that person was so far away. And to go alongside this, another frustrating thing the community picked out, Hotel 6 on Twitter says, he sends me a picture of this class, the one-man army noob tube class. And I probably would have chosen this for myself if I didn't see this prior, but I feel like I died to the panic knifing more, like the Commando Pro knifing more than I did the one-man army noob tube. I don't know why that is. I just have worse memory with that. But anyway, the one-man army noob tube is just one of the craziest things that they ever did, and never ever fixed it. Just let you switch classes, change the noob tubes, spammed them, and like you can go play MW2 nowadays if you don't get into a hack lobby, and there's still people doing this. You guys are sick in the head, man. Now we're moving on to Black Ops 1, and we're gonna be kind of perk heavy again with this game, and we are going with the Ghost perk. Yes, Black Ops 1, again, another one of my favorite Call of Duties. I am a Treyarch fanboy at heart, at least I was back in the day. And the one thing that really plagued this game, in my opinion, is the Ghost perk. It was obviously the perk that allowed you to stay off of the mini map. Now, the problem with this game, and something that they've addressed in the later Call of Duties, was you always were off the map no matter what you were doing. So if you had Ghost perk and you were sitting in a corner, or if you had Ghost perk and you were running around like a maniac, you didn't show up on the radar. And that led to a lot of annoying fights because you would call a UAV in and nobody would show up on the UAV, and they'd be camping in a little corner on firing range underneath the building with a claymore in the door. And it was so frustrating because this game was really, really good too. And there's just always that one thing that just annoys the crap out of you, and that was it for me. And Jay Staff, the community pick for this one, Last Stand, I feel like was way worse. I don't know if I'm crazy. Let me know in the comments if you think I am. I felt like in Black Ops 1, I died to people in Last Stand. My memory of dying to people in Last Stand was so much more than the other ones. I don't know if it was because of the ghost thing and people would surprise me and then I'd have to like panic shoot them, and then they would just go on the ground. I'm like, holy crap, he's still there, and then he would shoot me. I don't know what happened, but in Black Ops 1, it was insanity how many times I died to it. So J, W pick. These two perks, they haunt me today in Black Ops 1. Now we're on to Modern Warfare 3, and honestly, this game kind of fixed a lot of the issues of the Modern Warfare 2 game itself. But except for the guy, you know, Robert Bowling, he goes on stage and he says, F you Last Stand. You Last Stand. And then they made it even more powerful as a death streak. So yeah, that's not good. Now this one is also agreed upon. This is our first agreement from the community. Freshy says the exact same thing. He says death streaks. And I'm not gonna lie, man, this game was very frustrating for me. I feel like to play. I ended up going back to Black Ops 1. I don't know if it was just the game felt very similar to MW2 and then they added these crazy death streaks, but when I do revisit this game now, it's like, wow, this is actually a solid title. It aged really well. But at the time, I just could not get myself to enjoy this game. And I think a lot of it had to do with the death streaks, and also, wasn't quickscoping just unbelievably overpowered in this game? And again, Black Ops 1 didn't have quickscoping like it was back in MW2, so I got used to that. So I think my answer would probably be death streaks alongside quickscoping. And because I remember MW3 being it was so OP. And then, like I said, community says death streaks. So we're in agreement here. We just need to get rid of death streaks as a thing, and MW3 is pretty good. Well, it has to happen, guys. Even though Black Ops 2 is probably the best Call of Duty of all time, it was not without its flaws. And for me, I am going with the Target Finder attachment, our first attachment on the list so far. It's pretty simple, guys. This attachment you would put on an LMG and you would be able to spam that gun till the cows came home, and you would have these little red dots of where the enemy was, and sometimes you could see through walls. It was pretty much wall hacks before wall hacks were actually a thing. And I just remember, obviously, many people's memories with this is a dude laying down on the left side of Nuketown, watching that little kitchen and garage walkway and the little mini trailer truck in the middle of the map, and just spam firing and getting all their streaks, and or sitting in the window and getting all their streaks. That was unbelievable. I'm surprised they never did anything with this, like nerfing it or something, but it didn't really happen like that back in the day. And then our community answer is Mr. 1337 Bean. And actually, I thought this was an interesting one. The EMP grenade. I didn't see a lot of complaints about Black Ops 2, but Bean himself here, he had a pretty good point on this. He says that you would get all these high streaks and you would be able to only, like, after you got them, you'd sit them down and somebody would toss an EMP grenade and it would shut it down right away with just one grenade. And I'm thinking back to like a sentry gun or like a Guardian, which, I mean, it wasn't like a crazy high kill streak, but it definitely took a decent amount of kills. And to be able to like shut that thing down with one EMP grenade, I didn't really ever use these, so I didn't really think about it. But it's kind of a good answer because the streaks need to maybe take 2 or 3 EMP grenades, kind of like the trophy system. Like you, in the current CODs, if you throw 2 things at it, then that trophy system breaks. And it's like an EMP grenade, like a sentry gun should be able to take like 2 EMP grenades, especially if it was like, 700, 7 kills or something. So I think that's actually a good answer, but I do think target finder is way more important. Next up we have is Call of Duty Ghost, guys. And I'm gonna pause for 1 second. Type down below if you've made it this far into the video, what you think my answer is. Yeah, it's the maps, guys. It's the maps. I mean, my golly day. Is this the worst Call of Duty in terms of map selection that we've ever gotten? I think the only one that probably competes is MW19. And even then, I still think Ghost blows it out of the water. I'm getting actually nightmares thinking about them right now. And as you guys know, the running joke on this channel is I'm still trying to find somebody in Stonehaven. Still haven't been able to do it. So the maps were super large. They were trying to kind of like mimic Battlefield in this time, and they just didn't work. The big maps, the dull looking feel, being able to camp, and the TTK being extremely low just set the game up for failure in terms of like, especially when BO2 was like a running gun COD and a very fun COD, and then this one just slowed everything down. So yeah, the maps for me, 100%. And then you guys, actually, Sam himself from Twitter, which is another great pick, he says replacing the UAV with a SATCOM. What a stupid decision. So before, you would get like 3 kills and you would just call in a UAV. It would be this sweeping thing and everybody would show up that didn't have Ghost on. Very basic. And you would get rewarded for getting 3 kill streaks. You see the enemy for like 30 seconds and you move on. They decided to replace this with a SATCOM, which once you got it, you'd have to sit it down. You would only get pings on where your SATCOM visually pushed out. And then you'd have to get another one, place it down, and that created a UAV, I believe. And then if you got another one, if you were able to place 3 down at the same time, you would get an advanced UAV. It sounds easy. It sounds like a quick advanced UAV. The fact is that somebody could just walk right over it and knife it in one swipe. So the amount of times that you saw advanced UAV in COD Ghost, which was a Call of Duty that needed advanced UAVs, was about 1 every 50 games. So that decision was very bad. Very, very bad. And so was the game. I'm sorry, guys. All right, so now we're going to Advanced Warfare. And I'll be pretty quick with this one because we kind of agree, but I do want to say 1 point for this one. I think the bow being a big issue is kind of mine in this one. Now, there's another one that you guys are going to say, and you guys are probably correct in the grand scheme of things, but for me, I feel like the bow should have gotten nerfed a little bit. This game at one point was called Bow of Duty because that's how overpowered this gun was, and it never really got nerfed, and it just dominated the meta. this game really was dominated by two guns, the bow and the ASM-1. And most of the time people were using the bow. So I feel like when a game is very one gun heavy, man, just a simple nerf would have made all the other guns like the HBR and the IMR just that much more viable. And unfortunately, it never really happened. So the community pick is the obvious one, and this is by RYG, and that is supply drops. I mean, obviously, there's not a lot of positives with these. Now, I don't mind the system of earning supply drops and cosmetics if you can do it naturally, and if you want to pay for it, sure. But the moment they started adding these pay-to-win guns inside them, like the Obsidian Steed and all that stuff, that's when things get a little dicey and things get a little bit hairy. And that really, really led to, I mean, jetpacks, obviously, that didn't help the audience. But then when people started seeing that there was pay-to-win guns and they couldn't get them if they didn't buy random supply drops, you're gonna lose some players, okay? And they did just that. Next up is Black Ops 3, and I'm gonna be honest with you, this is about as perfect of a Call of Duty as I think you can get. I think they managed the specialists well. I think the guns, there were so many guns you could use. The supply drop system was not very good, but we're gonna talk about that. And the zombies was great. If you were a zombies guy, you know all about this. And so what I'm doing, what's the missing link here? Great multiplayer, great zombies. Yeah, the campaign was just absolutely trash. So that is going to be my pick for Black Ops 3. I so wish that this would have been the sequel that we're now getting in Black Ops 7 for Black Ops 2. How much more sense that would have made back in 2015 versus 2025 is probably more than we probably know. And instead they went this really cybernetic, trippy avenue that I don't know if there's more than 5 people that like this campaign. So yeah, I'm sorry guys. This was the only letdown of this game for me. And then Phoenix Knives, our community pick. Actually, there's no supply drop on this list from me or them or you guys. And he's going with the modded Brecci. Now the Brecci is a shotgun in this game, and it was one of the most overpowered shotguns, not only in this game, but in Call of Duty history. Maybe got nerfed one time, and it was just it would dominate a lot. You'd hear doo, 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 doo. And then people started finding like modded controllers, and then they would mod the Brecci to go from like a doo, 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 to just doo, 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 and it would just be like this automatic gun, like it was like an SMG. And let's just say that still plagues the game today, and that is not good. Shotguns, when shotguns are some of the most powerful weapons in your game, it does hurt the final product a little bit, I think. So now we are on IW, and I think this one is not really secret because we're kind of in agreement here with myself and the community. I am going to go with no jetpacks. I have been revisiting IW lately, just for my videos, of course, and I think this game could have been pretty good with no jetpacks. The gun selection, I know they're laser guns, but they're actually not that bad. And honestly, the maps as well, some of them are pretty solid. Now, there's some really bad ones too, but I think if you would have gotten rid of that jetpack movement, especially in a time where we were so burnt out on jetpacks and we got a third one in a row, and it was time to be done with them, and instead they did one more. I think if they would have kept the same premise, because look how the zombies turned out. The zombies was really good, and it was majority like boots on the ground. And even the campaign was kind of boots on the ground. They both were really good products. I think if they would have kept that and maybe done like the AW way, remember when AW had that no exo mode? Imagine they would have done that for jetpacks. I think it would have been almost like Fortnite, no build. Like people would have played that more and gave the game a chance. Instead, it was too late and people moved on. And now the community answer is very similar. It's Chef Speed here, and he says no wall running. So we're kind of in agreement. It's kind of the same kind of concept. You know, the jetpack's kind of tied in with the wall running. So we are in agreement. I think if this just would have been a straight boots on the ground like World War II, or obviously like the older Call of Duties, this would have been way more well received. And the fact that, again, Call of Duty 4 came with this game, it saved this game. We would have 100% lost the Battlefield 1 this year if they didn't do that. So Yeah, it was actually an overall, you know, decent product, minus, I think, the multiplayer a little bit because of these things. Now, speaking of World War II, I got a little ahead of myself. We are now talking about that game. And for me, it has got to be a simple answer here. The perk system at launch. Honestly, the launch in general. If the launch wouldn't have been botched, this game would have, I'm telling you guys, it would have been looked back on so fondly. This game came out, there were crashes everywhere, the headquarters wasn't working, you couldn't get into a game for like the first week. Like genuinely, it was the first week. And on top of that, they brought in this new perk system where each division had like a speciality. Like if you wanted to run and gun, you had to use airborne. If you wanted to snipe, you had to use scout or something like that. And it just made the game feel very just too serious, not like Call of Duty. And then you know, at this point, Fortnite had just come out and it was dominating everything. And then it's like, okay, well, this Call of Duty is not going to be very good, so we'll just move on. And that's what happened. And then they had the revamp, like we've talked about, 6 months later, and then it became a good Call of Duty. But if you have that at launch, it's a good Call of Duty at launch. Who would have thought, you know? But Stuart, our community pick for this video, he says supply drops. Now, this could kind of apply to multiple CODs. I don't know if he was specifying with World War II, but I think at this point, people were kind of over the system. Now, they did do kind of a better system where you could earn stuff, but obviously we know the headquarters was like one big show to like say you were spending money on stuff. So I get that. I get the frustration of, hey, I bought a supply drop. I'm going to open it up in front of you. Ha 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 ha. So I get it. I get it. I don't think that they were as bad as they were in AW and Black Ops 3, but by then we were kind of tired of supply drops because the system was just not on our side. So I get it. I get it, Stuart. All right, so now we're back to another Black Ops title, and this is Black Ops 4, and my answer is pretty simple. I think it's the health. This was the first Call of Duty that we ever had that had 150 health, and I just did not like that amount of health. I am also, let me preface this by, I am a fan of the Call of Duties with a little bit longer TTK. So like I'm thinking like Black Ops 1 versus MW3. Like Black Ops 1, I believe, is a longer TTK. But BO4 was just a little bit too long. Now, how we probably could have made the 150 health better is the elimination of self like healing. So you had the stim shot in Black Ops 4, which made somebody could get to 150 health, take you all the way down to 2. You could stim shot, and then you were right back to 150 health. I mean, it would take a full clip to take somebody out in this game. So using that many bullets to take out one person was just very frustrating to me. And I know there's like a skill gap with that, but it just got too crazy. It kind of felt like Overwatch in a way. And that brings me to the next point. Cyan himself says specialist. The community pick for this one is specialist, and he says it. This really felt like they were trying to copy Overwatch. Everything about the game, more health, self-healing, specialists, like it felt like a downgraded version of Black Ops 3 in every way. Somehow the specialists felt worse. They felt more overpowered, uneven, annoying. I'm just thinking of like the barbed wire thing. It's like, what is that thing? And it did not flow well. The game felt rushed. The game was not one of my favorites. And I did like Blackout though. So that's about the only positive I have about Black Ops 4 in my opinion. Campaign was good too. Okay, can I be straight up honest with you guys? When I looked at, there was like 2,000 comments, 1,000 on YouTube and 1,000 on Twitter. And MW19 by far and away had the most comments on it as what they would have removed. So MW19, I say this every single time. I love this game somehow, but at the same time, they did some of the most idiotic things for the Call of Duty franchise ever. And so I am starting with this one. We could probably have like 5 on this list, but for my pick, it's no red dots on the minimap. I feel like a staple of the Call of Duty franchise and what makes this game so fun to play and so arcadey and so fun, and the speed of it is great, is being able to chase your red dots and be aware of your surroundings. And if somebody's using a silenced gun, it actually means something. But in this game, they decided, you know what? No red dots. And by the way, I've said this before, there was no mini map in the beta of this game. There was only the compass up top. And they wanted to make it where people had safe spaces. Say what you will about that. So we finally had enough push in the community to bring back the mini map, but they did not give us the red dots. And the red dots were in a creator build that people played way back before the game came out. And they said it played so well. And then they took them out. They said it was a bug. And I'm like, no, like this game would have been almost perfect. Because there was a lot of camping going on in MW19 and red dots were just not there. And then community pick here, Mr. Ryan himself, he says disbanding lobbies, which is a absolutely great pick. The era of skill-based matchmaking hit really hard in MW19, and pretty much every single game you play, you're slot machined into something different, because if you did well, you're going to go play with people that are your KD, and if you did bad, you're going to go down a level for a little bit and then go back up. And there's no community in Call of Duty anymore, because you don't play against the same people. You don't create rivalries. You don't create these moments where you're like, oh, they were beating us one game and then we changed our weapons and our play style to then beat them. And there's reasons why this game is starting to fail a little bit and the cracks are starting to show, and disbanding lobbies was definitely at the start of this. So Ryan and community, W pick. Now we are on to Cold War, and I think this one might get me in a little trouble. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna go with the movement of this game. I feel like Modern Warfare 19 had a phenomenal system, and the movement felt great. It was able to be played in a way where you could try hard, you could slide cancel, you could sweat at the same time. If you didn't want to do that and you wanted to play nice and casual and chill, you could also do that. And it had a nice balance. And then I felt like Cold War's movement, I know it's more arcadey, but it felt kind of clunky in my opinion. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because it came after the MW19 engine, or like, you always remember like there was just like this hiccup with the movement, and I just did not care for it. So yeah, I would go movement for this one. You guys in the community said the war zonification of the game. Mikey Fave says this, and while I agree a little bit, I do disagree a little bit too, because let's be honest, I always say this, if Warzone doesn't come out, Call of Duty is in some of the roughest shape of all time, because MW19 brought that, and Cold War I think was the best era of Warzone by far. But then they took it to a level where like every game was based around Warzone. It's like that was their baby and they were just milking it. And so the war zonification, like adding plates and zombies, I get that. I hate that. I think that's an awful idea. I think the loadouts thing that they've added now, it's just like, what are we doing? And it just, Cold War was a jumbled mess, kind of like Black Ops 4. It's like, I feel bad for Treyarch. I feel bad for them, because I feel like they're just thrown into these situations with games where Black Ops 4, they wanted to make a campaign, they were forced to make Blackout. This game, they were thrown on, you know, late because Raven couldn't put it together. And it's like, I don't know, man. They just can't get their own game. Hopefully Black Ops 7 is the game that they actually have been wanting to make for the last 10 years, but who knows? Well, now we're on Call of Duty Vanguard, and this one is a simple pick for me, especially because we just the other day interviewed Greg Reisdorf, and he was the multiplayer lead on Sledgehammer Games, who makes this. And pretty much he hinted at Vanguard was not supposed to be a World War II shooter. And it's kind of been leaked and people kind of know it. So my pick is literally the fact that this was a World War II shooter. It didn't need to be that at all. I think people were kind of burnt out with World War II, especially because the last one had a terrible start. And especially knowing that they were going to try to maybe do a little bit more advanced, or maybe a little bit more in the futuristic title. That's why you see the EM1 coming in there and all sorts of crazy stuff. And it kind of just disappointed me, because I know Sledgehammer seems to be a really good developer, and when you actually let them cook and don't like have a leash around them, and I feel like they had a leash around them in this title. And our community pick is Brian, and he says destructible cover. If you played this game, there would be random windows that had like wood in front of it, and you just would punch it and then it would be like a normal window. And it's like, What was the point of that? Just make it a window, man. And there was occasional like walls and doors that you could push through and shoot. The door would be like half covered and half open. It was just a waste of time. It was a gimmick to try to copy probably Battlefield, and it just didn't work, man. This whole game really didn't work, did it? Well. If it isn't Modern Warfare 2, the new one. I don't have a lot to say about this to fix it, because I feel like it just would have been I just would have said brand new game. Is that an option? Can I say that? If I got to pick one thing to try to improve this game and fix it, I'm going to say the gunplay. I felt like the overall speed of using guns in this game was some of the slowest we've had ever. And people used to always say like, this is going back to the roots. ADS, a Modern Warfare 2 gun, and then ADS, an OG MW2 gun, you will see the difference in how long it takes to do that. And on top of that, once you shot, you couldn't even see where you were shooting because there was smoke everywhere from the gun because they tried to make it realistic. Infinity Ward, I have no idea what your guys' problem, to be honest with you. And let's just move right along with this. You guys picked the perk system. Another absolutely insane move that they decided to do. Instead of having all your perks when you spawned in for your life, you would earn them over time. So you wouldn't get your third perk till you had like 10 kills. I don't know how people say they like this game if they played OG Call of Duty. I don't know how they do it. I'm sorry. It's nothing like OG Call of Duty. All right, so now we're in the new MW3, and we're gonna go back to our wonderful pick about Black Ops 3, guys. Multiplayer in this game, pretty good. I mean, didn't hate the MW2 remastered maps, didn't hate the maps that they added. Fresh content all the time. Listen, guys, the campaign was like 2 hours, and it was one of the worst campaigns I've ever played in my entire life. They had the open world missions, open combat, whatever you want to call them, and the soap dying at the end for like no reason. The game had a ton of like cutscenes, so like you don't even play as like important parts, you just kind of watch it. It just wasn't a good game for campaign at all. And again, this isn't Sledgehammer's fault. This was supposed to be a DLC 100%. So yeah, the campaign, that could have been a lot better. And I think you could have improved the game, because I still am a guy that likes to play the campaigns and enjoy a good story. But there was no story to enjoy with this one. And then the community pick by Mr. Joker Boy here. He actually says recycled content in the let me say this again. The shell shaded skins. So they had a kind of like a season where there was a couple maps where they looked shell shaded. I don't know how to say that word, okay? And I don't really hate this, but I know some people don't. They absolutely despise this type of content. And I think by recycled content, he probably means all of the maps that came with MW3, which literally, I mean, that is recycled content at the end of the day. It is all OG MW2 maps in the game. So I can see where you get frustrated, especially when you got to spend $70 on a game. So yeah, I mean, their new maps were good. Maybe if they would have done like 6 remastered and 6 new ones, maybe it would have been a better received thing, but I get it. I get it, Joker. I get it, man. Well, now we are on Black Ops 6, and I think I nailed it. I think the community nailed it. This is pretty much unified. We're going with the skins, guys, okay? With a honorable mention for both of us for the maps. The maps over time just did not, what do you call that? Age well. The movement was too quick with them. They were too small. The bigger maps play really well with the movement, but the maps is the honorable mention here. The skins is the pick for me and my boy Danny Vincent here as well. I get the store. I get the skins. I get some of them being a little bit wacky, but Black Ops 6 turned wacky, and they turned it to max level. You know, the Stan Smiths, the American Dad, the Beavis and Butthead. I mean, it's just too much. And I'm telling you, man, they are losing players because of it. And I think they're down for a quick buck, but at the same time, you may be losing your core people because you want to make an extra $20 a season on a bunch of people that are, by the way, it's just stupid that some people buy that stuff. But yeah, the skins. And I'm hoping in Black Ops 7, we talk about this game in a month, and We got rid of that, guys. We're not bringing carry forward. And you know what? That would be a great selling point for Black Ops 7. But yeah, that's Black Ops 6, the skins. They're really, really bad. Well, there you have it, guys. That is fixing every Call of Duty. I think we both had really, really good responses on this. Thank you guys all for commenting on these posts. If you guys think I missed something, tell me which game and tell me what you would have fixed with that game. I thought this was a fun thing to do to kind of get the community involved. I want to do this more often with other ideas that I have. So make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram because I'm going to do these polls over there, obviously on the community tab as well. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you're new. And I think if you want to watch another video, you can go click over there right now. All right, we'll see you in the next one.